our first speaker. Hilary Norwood will graduate this December with a master's in hospitality management at the Conrad N. Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management. Her advisors are Dr. Jay Neal and Dr. Sujata Sirsat. When she is not observing restaurants or researching in the lab, she likes consuming large amounts of bread, her favorite food, attending UH football games to cheer on the Cougs, and binge-watching Netflix. Today, she will be discussing her training initiatives for handling fresh and fresh-cut produce.
So I'm about to show you a picture of one of the most dangerous, potentially life-threatening, yet eerily discreet villain of our time. It is not a human or an animal, but has the potential to cause harm to thousands if in the wrong hands. Oops. That's right. Leafy greens, like the ones you might have consumed at lunch today, are packed with fiber, vitamins, and minerals, yet have the potential to become tainted simply by the touch of unclean hands. In fact, in leafy greens alone, there have been over 100 US outbreaks over a 4-year period. In the food safety industry, we call items like this a high-risk ingredient, because they're usually consumed raw and have no thermal death treatment to bacteria. With 12.8 million employees in the US, serving over 70 billion meals, at 960,000 operations each year, it is unknown if all of these food handlers are properly trained on the potential risk of serving fresh and fresh-cut produce. But everything has a kryptonite, and the solution to preventing outbreaks is simple and can be easily attainable by anyone sitting in this room, including restaurant managers. Training. The leading method of training in our industry is provided by an online certification called ServSafe. ServSafe covers the basics of food safety training, but nothing specific to leafy greens. You study the material, you take the test, and if you pass, you're ServSafe certified. Unfortunately, this style of knowledge-based training is not as successful, as there are countless outbreaks that occur in our industry every day. So, over the past year and a half, I've been in and out of restaurants and grocery stores at all hours of the morning and night, observing food handlers' behaviors. I look at their current procedures, their food safety culture, and following my observations, I give them a survey analyzing their current food safety knowledge. Here's what I discovered. Over half of these employees are uneducated on proper hand washing techniques, temperature recording, and the risk of handling ready-to-eat foods, like salads. This is alarming, as this knowledge is crucial to keeping our consumers safe. Some of my observations were disappointing, like this one. An employee left heads of romaine lettuce on a dishwashing sink, and boxes of romaine lettuce on the floor near a trash can. And since these heads of lettuce are to be made into salads, they might get a quick chop and rinse before being thrown into a bowl and consumed by a consumer. This shows a lack of effort and knowledge when handling ready-to-eat items. But some of my observations were encouraging, like this one. Management required thermometers to be placed in each cooler on the production line. And as you can see, these thermometers are placed in the front of the cooler, which is the warmest part and will provide a more accurate reading. This shows a proactive approach to temperature recording and interest in food safety culture. But the most consistent piece of evidence I obtained was something so simple. Only 44% of these employees washed their hands at some point during their shift, and 56% of employees did not wash their hands prior to putting on gloves. Many believed that changing gloves was a substitute for hand washing. So I went back in the lab and simulated some of these same behaviors I observed using a fluorescent compound called GlowGerm. GlowGerm simulates bacteria on food items, but can only be seen under UV light. And following these observations, I used actual pathogens like E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria. I determined that a single head of contaminated lettuce, when combined with multiple heads of lettuce, could contaminate the entire production, including the equipment and the water the lettuce was soaked in. Notice this image of 3 salads prepared with cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, shredded carrots, and cilantro. While only 1 head of lettuce was inoculated, the entire production became contaminated due to the current procedures of combining all heads of lettuce into one sink and soaking in cool water. Additionally, practices like not properly sanitizing and scrubbing salad spinners can easily spread the bacteria. I learned that employees that come into work without washing their hands or when changing gloves can contaminate a harmless fruit salad. For this experiment, I asked my volunteers to inoculate their hands with GlowGerm, put on gloves, and prepare a fruit salad. As you can see, simply changing gloves is not a substitute for hand washing. So I decided to approach training differently. Time-consuming lectures and quizzes needed to be a thing of the past, replaced with incentives and games. So a pre-shift kit was created to highlight food safety culture at the start of each shift. It needed to be quick, informative, and engaging to motivate employees. Each meeting began with a 30-second video clip highlighting a behavior that needed improvement. Following this, a game with an incentive is used to encourage the behavior. And lastly, a silent reminder is placed around the establishment to keep the food safety culture alive. Oops. Clicker's a little weird. So, an improper wear jar can be used for management having issues with employees forgetting to wear hairnets, aprons, or non-slip shoes. For each time an employee is caught out of dress code, a marble is placed in the jar. And at the end of the shift or the month, the marbles are counted and a penalty is given, like cleaning duty for the week. For management having issues with employees forgetting to wash their hands, once a week, a hand washing competition called Did You Wash 'Em Wednesdays can be used to highlight proper hand washing behaviors. Whichever employee washes their hands the most during their shift gets a free car wash or a primary parking spot for that week. And lastly, a silent reminder is placed in the establishment to keep the food safety culture alive. Management can clip articles of current outbreaks in foodborne illness outbreaks in our industry and place them in employee rest areas like employee break rooms, employee bathrooms, or even near their lockers. This will encourage an open dialogue about the dangers of food safety and hopefully encourage a stronger food safety culture. So, I will use these initiatives, my future research will use these initiatives combined with current initiatives in the industry to create a more succinct method of training. But here's my challenge to you. Let's make leafy greens a hero. Educate yourselves on the potential risk of serving this delicious superfood and spread that knowledge with others. Thank you.